Hi. How you guys doing? Sorry about that. The monster that lives under my bed was acting up. I had to deal with it. I know we all have to deal with it every now and then. He was quiet for a really long time, you know. But he was really riled up. Okay, so I would like to take this moment to express a public service announcement to all of my subscribers. Please go and look under your beds, because those little monsters that you thought were just tiny little gnomes growing up, they grow up into giant alligator demons. So make sure you have a baseball bat, or I don't know, a katana, or some type of incendiary whip next to your bedside, so you can defend yourself if they ever come to you in the middle of the night. Okay, so Luffy's mom. We don't know that much about her, and I already made a video about this. However, there was some new information, not exactly about his mother, but there was information about Dragon that might possibly relate to something vaguely approaching information on Luffy's mother. So I'm here to make like a 30-minute video about that. Is that cool with you? That's cool with me. Alright, so this is a theory that was really prevalent after one of the latest Viva Record booster packs came out. Not the most recent one with Crocodile. I don't think even the one before this. I think it was the one back in November, the one where we got all the Blackbeard Pirates info. We also got some info about Dragon in that one as well, as the Revolutionary Army, right? And before this, I saw this theory pop up every now and then. It wasn't very prevalent beforehand, but after this information dropped, it kind of got knocked into full swing, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? That would make a lot of sense, and I think it would fit with what's going on with Luffy's mom. Why don't we see her around or anything? Because I'm under the opinion, and I've stated this before, we're not going to find out the parents of, like, every single Straw Hat. However, the ones that Oda went out of his way to actually reveal, like, he revealed Nico Robin's mom, I would like to know about Robin's dad. He revealed Luffy's dad, so I would like to know about his mom. You know, that just leaves too many unanswered questions, you know, right? Okay, so what's and plus he's the main character. We're definitely going to find out at least about Luffy's mom. Robin's dad, that's a little bit up in the air, but Luffy's mom, we're definitely going to find about that. In the last video I made about this subject, about a year ago, I basically arrived at the conclusion that I believe she's dead. That's the reason we don't see her anymore. That could also maybe give some credence on why Dragon is on a warpath or something. You know, people have thought, oh, well, maybe Bello Betty is Luffy's mom, or maybe she's a member of the Revolutionary Army. And I mean, it makes sense, you know, if Dragon is Luffy's father and he's the head of the Revolutionary Army, then maybe Luffy's mom is also part of the Revolutionary Army as a high-ranking official. And then we get to see Bello Betty in Chapter 904, one of the Revolutionary Army commanders. So that there was a theory around there with that. But in this one of the most recent Viva Record boosters, we get some information on Dragon. Basically what it says, and it's very vague, but what it says is this. There's something about Dragon's past that he's hidden. Then again, Dragon's not a very open guy. However, this thing that happened to him in the past, this thing that he's connected to, even if his followers were to find out about it, they wouldn't think less of him for it. It's not like if they found out about this secret that Dragon doesn't want to tell anyone, immediately the Revolutionary Army would just fall apart, because they believe in Dragon, they believe in his mission, and they believe that he is the best person to lead them on their quest to dismantle the world nobles. So the theory goes like this. Luffy's mother was a celestial dragon. Dragon and this world noble met at some point. I have an idea on how that could have happened, how they even could have met to begin with, but hold off on that for a second. So Dragon and a world noble got together and then gave birth to Luffy. And that's the dark secret that he doesn't want anyone to know, or he's just kind of like touchy about it, because the world nobles are the ones that the Revolutionary Army are trying to dismantle. Alright, but at the same time, I feel like that would be definitely something that he would want to keep secret, but the rest of the Revolutionary Army, even if they found out about that, they wouldn't think less of him for it. If he came out and said, hey guys, yeah, the allegations about me are true, I was married to a celestial dragon, I had a son who is Luffy with this celestial dragon, you know, but that doesn't change our mission here. That doesn't change what we're doing here. And I think even the Revolutionary Army would be like, once again, they believe in him. They'd be like, okay, that's understandable. We're okay with that. We're not going to just dismantle the whole operation because of that one thing came to light. You're still a very capable leader here. And I like to think even some of the Revolutionary Army would understand that not every single solitary member of the world nobles are evil, just unrepentant douchebags. Like, most of them are. Like, 98% of them are. But Mulesguard certainly isn't. So I think we can see, like, that's an example. Like, there can be other ones. Homing, Doflamingo's dad and his mother, they were both, different from all the other celestial dragons. We don't even know how many celestial dragons there are currently living up in Marijois. We know that they're descendants of 20 families, but the Doflamingo itself, you had the homing section of it, which is, Doflamingo and Rochinate's parents, but then you had Mulesguard, and then Mulesguard's weird aborted rat fetus of a father, that are also part of the Doflamingo family, and then you have Roswald and Charlos that are part of a different family altogether, and that's only like 2 families. If you just, the Doflamingo family and then Roswald's family, you still have a bunch of them. You have Jalmac somewhere in there, so there might be possibly dozens, maybe even over 100 celestial dragons living up there in that city of Marijois. So I think they can understand, like, yeah, out of all of these celestial dragons, there's bound to be at least a few of them that don't subscribe to the same, authoritarian, we're the gods of the world and we can do whatever we want and it's okay to have slaves and all that stuff. There has to be bound to be a few of them, right? And Luffy's mother would have certainly been one such individual. Now, how would have Dragon and this lovely celestial dragon lady have met? This is going to get confusing because I'm talking about a guy named Dragon marrying a woman named after Dragon, celestial dragon, so just bear with me here. How would these two have met? All right. Now, here's the thing. Remember that Garp is Dragon's father. And he's been a Marine guy for pretty much his entire life. We see Garp when he's like a teenager, like Luffy's age, and he's a Marine, okay? So I think it's, easy to hazard a guess here that Garp wanted Dragon to be a Marine as well. The same thing that Garp wanted Luffy and Ace to grow up to be good, strapping young Marine men. Same thing with Garp wanting Dragon, to do that as well. And it might even be the case that the reason he wants that for Luffy and Ace so much is he maybe saw what happened with Dragon and he went off the rails and he's like, oh, I'm disappointed in that. I'm a failure. I gotta try to rectify this. I gotta try to get Luffy and Ace to be Marines. So at least I can see like I could succeed here, I can make up for what happened with my own son. Might be something like that. But you figure, Marine HQ and Marijois, they're pretty close to each other. Marine HQ is right below it, and the Marines do constant dealings with, the world government. Garp, somebody that's of his reputation, even back when Dragon was first born. You're talking Garp in his, I think Garp would be in his mid-20s at that point. Garp is 78 right now, Dragon is 55, Luffy is 19. So he would have been in his mid-20s when Dragon was born. By the time Dragon was in his mid-20s as well, probably maybe on his path to becoming an accomplished Marine, because we know nothing about Dragon's past, like the very beginnings. We know nothing about Dragon's childhood, or his relationship to Garp, really, or, if he was a Marine, or if he started off as a pirate, or if he was neither. But I'm going to assume here that Garp would have wanted his son to be a Marine, and then, because there's no reason not to be, Dragon would have accepted that, and he would have trained to become a Marine, and he would have gotten to the point where he would have been maybe even a high-ranking officer, not like an admiral or a vice admiral or something, but, captain, commodore, something basically high-ranking, and with that status, they might have had to go to the Holy Land at some point to, have a discussion with the world nobles or with the world government in general, just something there. They were close there. It's not like a pirate trying to gain access to Marijois. This would be a Marine trying to gain access to Marijois. Or it could be the other side. It could be the world noble, Luffy's mom, could have descended from Marijois, because this person is probably very different from all the other ones we've seen. She's probably more similar to Mulesguard or Homing's wife. Somebody that maybe cares about the plights of the common man or something like that, and she might have come down to Marijois constantly to see the Marines, and it's like, oh, how are you men doing? Are you doing all right? And everything like that. Maybe she was really concerned about that, and through those circumstances, either Dragon going up there or her coming down to like that general area, that's how they met. And they just fell in love, and it was probably looked down upon, from Dragon's perspective, you figure because he's a Marine and everything, and this is a Celestial Dragon, but in the Celestial Dragon's perspective, perspective, they can do whatever they want. You know, like Charlo's had like 12 wives or something. So from that perspective, they probably didn't care. But, you know, maybe with Dragon, it might have been a little difficult here. He might have had to give up his Marine position at some point, maybe something along those lines. But at any rate, let's say they got together and they started talking to one another, like dating, and they started talking about the nature of the world. And maybe that's where the seeds were beginning to sow in Dragon's mind, that the world is corrupt and the Tenryubito need to be abolished. Also, if he was a member of the Marines, and Garp has this too, absolutely, they know that there's corruption. There's no way you could be like a high-ranking member of the Marines like Garp is and not see the situation with the government and the Tenryubito and everything like that, alright? Garp probably sees that, but he probably views it like, well, we're the lesser of two evils. Like, you know, it might be a corrupt system that we fly our flag under, the Marines and the world government, but it's a lot better than just leaving it up to the pirates. Because Garp has seen firsthand the horrors that piracy can lead to, so he's probably like, you know, this system works. It's not the best, and it's corrupt, and it even led to the death of Ace, who he viewed as his own grandson, but it's better than somebody like Kaido or Blackbeard taking over the entire world and having just complete and utter chaos. So Garp, you know, being enlisted in the Marines for so damn long, probably just got to the point where it's like, I'm just gonna kind of turn a blind eye to this, and I'm just gonna kind of just keep on doing my duty, even though if he maybe feels deep down something's wrong. Dragon might have had that at the beginning, but he you know, had this relationship with a celestial dragon, and he's like, this is kind of messed up. And maybe she herself was like, yeah, I don't like the way that my fellow Tenryubitos act. I don't like the whole slave trade that's running underneath Marijois. Did you know we have mobile walkways that literally run on slave power? Dragon be like, that's messed up. I'm like, I know, right? I'm picturing Dragon dating this world noble girl and just like, is like, this world's pretty messed up. Do you know all the crazy stuff we have up there? Did you know there's a guy named Im-sama that rolls over the Gorosei? Really? Yes, really? That's nuts! I know! I would assume the world nobles would know about the existence of Im-sama. I would assume they would. I mean, Im-sama himself is probably a member of the world nobles, just like the highest ranking out of all of them, you know? You'd figure, right? So, this is sort of like the perfect storm, pun intended, because of Dragon's devil fruit abilities. A perfect storm of this woman that wants to see the end of the Tenryubito, sees the sins that they've committed, and then Dragon, somebody that is, you know, a Marine and probably has a very ideal image of the world. You know, I figure a lot of Marines probably have that. Like, we're gonna join the Marines to defend the world against corruption. And then they find out what's really going on behind the scenes once they reach a high enough level. And most of them probably are just like, well, kind of with Garp, you're just like, okay, well, it's better than letting the pirates run everything, so let's just keep this up. Dragon might have been the one different in that bunch. He might have been like, you know what, screw it. The most corrupted system here is the system up top. And so they might have been trying to figure something out here. They might have been trying to figure out a way to reform the Tenryubito. Maybe not through bloodshed at first. It was just like, let's see if we can manipulate and we can change things around without getting a big army involved, right? And the Tenryubito probably rejected that wholesale. They were like, no, we don't want to change. We're not going to do anything different. They even view Mjolsgard as an outcast. You know, he's the weird one that doesn't want slaves. That's weird. Get him away from us. He probably still lives in an immaculate palace, but it's an immaculate palace on the edge of town. You know, like, Mjolsgard, you stay over there in your silver-lined palace. Ugh. Everyone, back to your gold-lined palaces, you know? So, they obviously reject that, and Dragon probably tried the olive branch at first. Maybe he tried, like, let's do this peacefully, and it didn't work. And this might have led to something similar with Otahime. Let's say at this point, Dragon and this woman got together, and they had Luffy, and Luffy was only a little child. Wouldn't it be weird if Luffy was born in Marijois, or if he was born in the Holy Land? It might be possible. That'd be so crazy. And so when Luffy was a little kid, though, maybe when the Tenryubito found out about this, found out that she had a baby with a commoner, which marriage between, like, or you know, not really marriage, but a harem between world nobles and common folk, that's acceptable. What Charlo's had, you know, he had like 12 wives as a harem just lined up, wives. But the act of, you know, having children with commoners, I'm going to assume that's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. We haven't seen that yet. There might be. Im-sama might have imposed, like, you Tenryubito, you can do whatever you want, except mingle with the common folk and have children. You can't do that because that messes up the whole system. If we start bringing in, like, muggles or mudbloods into our mix, like, we can't have that. So far we understand that Tenryubito pretty much have that one, like, they could do whatever, but Im-sama might have imposed, like, a law even on them that they can't do, and most of the Tenryubito probably don't care about it. They're probably just like, oh, who would want to have a child with a commoner anyway? That's disgusting. But, a few of them, the weird ones out of the mix, like, let's say Dragon's wife might have had that, and so, they got rid of her. They eliminated her, they killed her right there, and maybe Dragon even witnessed it, and Dragon managed to get away, vowing vengeance, basically. Like, vengeance, he didn't even just swear vengeance, like, I'm not just going to avenge my wife. I'm going to avenge her dream. I'm going to make sure this entire system falls. And Dragon, he was a very different man at that point. I would like to think Dragon was maybe a little bit softer back then. He was maybe a little bit kinder. This woman might have changed him and might be like, oh yeah, we can do this. We can change the world. We can do this. And then he finds out that it might be possible to change the world, but not without getting a lot of blood on your hands. And at that point, Dragon was like, I'm done. All right, I'm doing this. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care what I have to sacrifice. I'm going to make sure this is going to work. And Dragon, being a smart guy, part of him, like, died that day, and he was just a very callous kind of guy, made of stone, and he's like, all right, I'm going to leave my only son with Garp, just threw Luffy on Garp, you take care of my son, because I can't have a child if I'm going to do this. He sailed out, defected from the Marines, and then he started to gather up the Revolutionary Army, started to carefully plot out, like, I know where all the Tenryubito, I know where all the islands that are oppressed at, we're going to target each one by one, we're going to do this tactically, we're going to make sure to lessen the stranglehold of the Tenryubito on the world, at, like, places like Tequila Wolf, and then once we've liberated most of these islands where we think we can gather enough people on our side, because the people they liberated probably also join up with the Revolutionary Army. After we've gathered enough fighting force, we're going to do it. We're going to infiltrate Reverie, which is what we're doing right now. We're going to declare war directly on the Tenryubito, and we're going to take this system down. Hey guys, just a quick addendum on my part, something I wanted to bring up, but I forgot to. So, Dragon actually founded the Revolutionary Army somewhere between 24 years ago and 19 years ago. That's the date it's listed in the Vivre card. We do not know the exact year, but it was sometime after Roger was executed, from when we see Dragon right here to when Luffy was born. Now, the only way for me to make this work in my line of reasoning is perhaps when the Revolutionary Army was founded, it had a very different, like, outlook and mission than it does right now. Like, let's say Dragon and his wife got together to try to reform the Tenryubito peacefully at first, and that would have been considered a revolution, but a different kind of revolution than the one we see right now. Then maybe things went south after Luffy was born and maybe Dragon's wife was executed, and then it was like, okay, now we have to do this by force. There's no way we can get this done peacefully. That's the best way I can look at it. It's an operation that was going to take many years. It would not be done overnight. Dragon is not the kind of guy that's like, he could have just went crazy and tried to attack them right there. All that would have accomplished is he would have gotten killed. That's all that would have happened. If they really did just kill his wife and then just like, you know what? I'm gonna blind rage attack you. All that would have accomplished is he would have just, if it was like, oh, we took out your wife, it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna attack you. All that would have accomplished is he would have gotten his head in the stockade and then by the end of the night. That's all that would have done. So he's like, no. There's a way to do this, and we've talked about this, but we have to do it. It's going to take a long time, and I might have to sacrifice a lot of stuff, including raising my child. And so it's not like Dragon doesn't like Luffy or didn't want to be his father. It's probably just Dragon viewed it as like, very, very, I think it's utilitarian. That's like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I can either be a good father to Luffy, or I could actually take a part of it and kind of sacrifice my own life in order to make the world a better place, and I think that's what he chose. So that brings us to pretty much where we're at right now, with Dragon declaring war on the Tenryubito at the Reverie. Granted, we don't know exactly how that whole thing went down yet, but as we all know, we're getting Reverie 2019, guys! Probably most likely in between Act 2 and 3 of Wano, we're gonna get some Reverie action, and so we might go back in time a little bit, find out what's going on there, and then maybe end between Act 3 and 4, because Act 3 of Wano is gonna be the big epic fight, going by the Kabuki play structures. So that's probably like Act 2 and 3, we get Reverie as a warm-up act. Of course, the warm-up act is going to be really intense, and it was like, oh, can it get more intense? Then we cut to Act 3 of Wano, like, it got more intense! So, yeah. And also with Luffy, I wanted to also talk about the position of the King of the Pirates in this whole thing, because Dragon was present at Roger's execution and all this stuff. Of course, that was long before Luffy was born. But the thing is, Luffy's, on the surface, it might seem completely separate. Like, Dragon's trying to take down the Tenryubito, set up a whole new system here. And Luffy's trying to become King of the Pirates. Doesn't seem to be the same thing. Dragon probably views the King of the Pirates as a symbol. Kind of like, this is someone, the objective one that disturbs the status quo. He is the King of the Pirates. Roger was somebody that even made the Tenryubito probably shake in their boots. Right, and when you see Dragon at Roger's execution, he looks rather solemn. He looks pretty sad. Probably because, if we're going to look at it from that perspective, like, if there was anybody in the world that could have maybe changed the way things were, it would have been Roger. And because he found the One Piece, and he did all this stuff, and he defied the world government time after time, and he ended up getting executed. And so Dragon was probably very somber about that, like, oh man, he's gone. That was kind of like one of our last hopes, and now he's gone. But now he sees his son, Luffy, rising up to the status of now being considered a 5th emperor. That is probably something he loves, and he probably is regretting that he didn't get a chance to spend time with Luffy growing up, but he doesn't have time to worry about that. He doesn't have time to think back to he can worry about that when he's one, he could worry about that later, like sitting around being like, man, I should probably have spent more time with my son. But, after he conquers and takes out the Tenryubito and sets up like maybe a new order for, to in place the Tenryubito or restructure the world government, he doesn't want to take down the world government, because if you do that, then it really is going to become just mass anarchy everywhere. So you need to keep the government, but you need to remove the ones in power, right? But he sees Luffy, like after Enies Lobby, when he's looking at his wanted poster, 300 million, he's like, the time where we will meet is drawing ever closer, Luffy. Just basically follow your own path, don't let anyone deter you, and that's the true way to live, my son. So you can see that he cares about Luffy, it's just he has more important stuff going on right now, and he's glad he's seeing his son rise up against the oppression. He's like, my boy, burning down the world government flag. I wasn't even there, but he's definitely my son. I don't know why I'm talking like a southern guy right now, because Dragon, as we all know, is the Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Monkey D. Dragon. I can summon lightning bolts, Also, this is just a side note, but Dragon's Devil Fruit is pretty OP. If it's like the Storm Fruit, which is what I think it is, that is definitely a fruit that would be, hey, if you were going to have it anywhere, a fruit that powerful, you might have it up there in Marijois. They might have, like, hey, let's keep some of the strongest fruits for ourselves. The power to literally manipulate the weather, that would seem like a power the Tenryubito would love to have. That seems like a power that, like, they would have, and then to be like, kind of the same thing with Big Mom. It's like, you're living on Totland. Big Mom, in the vicinity of Totland, can control the damn weather. That is certainly an aspect of, like, we do not mess with our queen, when she can literally just summon lightning. Same thing with the Skypians. Like, we don't mess with Eneru. He can send a lightning bolt right down our throats wherever we're at, And it's a big one. So it might be something very well like that. Maybe the Tenryubito all had this special fruit that allowed them, like the Storm Fruit. Like, this is a really powerful devil fruit. It's a symbol of the power of the Tenryubito or something. But we're only supposed to, like, it. But there's so many Tenryubito, they can't all have it. So maybe it's just, like, then nobody uses it unless they absolutely have to. Like, when the time comes, maybe a Tenryubito or Imsama will consume the fruit and be like, you peasants! You will not dare to rebel against us! We are the Tenryubito! Thunderclap! Thunderclap! Hurricane! Tsunami! Earth! Well, I guess not earthquake, that's more of Whitebeard's thing, but if it's the Storm Fruit, or even the Wind Fruit, I like to think it's a storm, because he was very clearly able to manipulate electricity there, lightning bolt to save Luffy. Either that or Eneru was feeling rather generous that day. But, Maybe it was something like that. Like if the masses do start to revolt, we have the storm fruit to kind of put them back into their place, show them really who's the god up on the mountain. But then maybe Dragon's wife stole it, and then Dragon got it, and now that's the reason he's considered the most wanted man in the world. Not just because he's the leader of the Revolutionary Army, but he also has this redonkulously powerful devil fruit that's not supposed to be in the hands of a commoner. Maybe that's the other reason. All right. Well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover with Luffy's mom. I know that some of the time frame things might not sync up too well. Like, for instance, Dragon during Roger's execution, like I said, he looks rather somber, and this would have been in the timeline that I've created, this little headcanon, that would have been the time when Luffy's mom would still have been alive and everything, and Luffy's not even born yet. But like I said, I like to think that maybe him and his wife might have viewed it as like, oh, this is the way that can change the world, and then Roger got executed, so it's like, oh, well, now there's no hope. Is there no hope anymore? It's like, yes, there is hope. There's still stuff we can do. Maybe something like that. Maybe they might have attempted to have Luffy as a way to change their perspective. You know, like, a commoner and a Tenryubito had a child. Isn't this a beautiful child? Maybe we can all get along, guys. And it's like a Coke commercial, and like "We Are the World" cues up in the background, like, come here everybody, and let's all sing Kumbaya up on top of Marie Joie. And it didn't go down that way. Maybe Luffy's mom was sort of like a hippie, I don't know. But let me know what you guys think below about this theory, and if you can maybe elaborate on it, expand on it, or tell me why it doesn't make sense. I like hearing perspectives here from all kinds. So thanks for watching. This will be Teching 101 signing. Alright, okay, he woke up. I gotta go deal with this. Alright, back into Hades!